Howdy folks, and welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory, and today is Sunday, May the 1st, 2016, and I have the great honor and distinct pleasure of welcoming to the show for the first time Mr. Max Porterfield, who is the CEO of Kinex Mines. And Kinex Mines is partnered with the legendary team and resources investment legend Carlo Savelli. And Kinex Mines is an exploration company in Canada with two new discoveries on the books. And in recent months, Resource Capital has taken a 17% stake in Kinex Mines, making it only the second exploration company they've ever invested in. Wow. Max, you should be proud of that, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm extremely proud of what we've accomplished, and even more excited about what the future holds for the company.
Well, let's get into it and see what we can find out.
All right.
The mining sector has really been enjoying some much-needed attention for the past several months. And how do you see the resource sector changing and evolving over the course of 2016, especially in light of the renewed appreciation for the precious metals? And precious metals, especially silver, have enjoyed a nice steady rise in 2016. So how do you see this impacting the resource sector for the remainder of this year?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the resource business overall, the commodity space is a cyclical business. And really those that do well over time are the ones that understand that and manage around how cyclical the business is in general. So the past, 5 years have been very, very difficult in the resource space with this pullback that you've seen across base and precious metals. And, you really need to time yourself to be able to take advantage of that when, it comes back in favor. And you've seen that here early in 2016. Again, you mentioned, silver, I think today hit its 52-week high. Was the last precious, behind gold. Gold again is up about $30. So I see, really the fundamentals coming back into the space. I like the base metals as well. Zinc in particular, I don't think has had that big move that it should have. You look at zinc today at 75 cents, for example. A lot of the analyst consensus is the long-term price for zinc should be around $1.60 a pound. So again, you can get big moves in these spaces, and it goes back to fundamentals. I was just talking about zinc. You had over the past 2 years or so, 10% of global supply come offline from mines that were coming off of end of life there. With that being said, a very large portion of zinc supply, for example, is a byproduct to other mines that the main focus might be mining some other commodity, and it just comes off as a byproduct. So you really need a big incentive price move in zinc to incentivize new exploration, development, and construction of these new zinc mines to meet demand, which you haven't had. And if you look at the above ground inventories for zinc, for example, they've gone down by over 60% in the past 3 years.
Wow.
So I think we're in an inflection point for these commodities, and really you want to position yourself to take advantage for those the rising price environment that I foresee going forward in the future.
Max, your company's been in Manitoba digging in the dirt since 1927. That's a good long history.
Yeah, the company's got a long history going back to 1927 when a man named Jack Callanan IPO'd. It was actually the oldest traded company back on the Vancouver Stock Exchange. Had a number of economic, high-grade, base and precious metals-rich VMS deposits discovered in its history. The most recent, notably, was the 777 mine was discovered by Hud Bay on Callanan Mines claims. That was the name of the company at the time. Went into production in 2004 and started paying a very large royalty stream. And then in 2011, the company split into two entities. Kinex was spun out with all the exploration portfolio within the company. And we renewed that focus on these base metals and precious metals rich VMS deposits and exploration for those over the past 2 years, and have been very active in the pursuit of that with a team that we've built that has really had a lot of success doing that.
Yeah, I was reviewing your management team, and you've surrounded yourself with some high caliber, really great people. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. I wanted to ask you about Kinex and how close are you guys at this point to delivering even more product to the market, or are your new discoveries already producing?
Well, no, the products and what we're doing is an exploration, and I think the one of the biggest value creators for the old mining industry as overall is an exploration and the discovery of new deposits, where you can kind of really create huge returns and large returns for your investor base by doing so. So the exploration that we've been doing is an early stage exploration, looking to discover and define new deposits that'll eventually go into production sometime in the future.
Max, I'd like to circle back to something you said just a moment ago. You said that zinc is usually discovered alongside other metals, and what I'm not that familiar with zinc. And what other metals would you usually find it with? Would you find it with copper or lead or?
Well, like in the deposits that we're doing exploration for, and the reason why we're focused in on these that's known as VMS deposits is because they're high grade, so they're rich in terms of the grade. Uh, in They're high grade in terms of cross basin precious metals, as I mentioned before. So you typically find these VMS deposits are going to be copper, zinc, gold, and silver. So again, you get the best of both worlds. I
Okay.
think from an exploration standpoint, it really creates a deposit that has some legs to it when you discover them and you're developing them, because you're not really that affected by the underlying commodity movement price. So if the underlying commodity price for gold goes up or down, for example, it won't have as much impact on a product that's exclusively gold. Likewise, the same fluctuations for copper, zinc, or silver as well. So yeah, absolutely, they come as a byproduct in these VMS deposits. It's alongside copper, zinc, and gold. I'm
Okay.
sorry, copper, silver, and gold.
And it seems like that you have where you have your mines located, which is up in Manitoba, Canada. Seems like you guys are on some very fertile ground up there. Like I said a minute ago, you guys have been in operation since 1927, which is really, you're coming up on your 100-year anniversary. And it appears that you are not leaving any of the top shelf metals behind. I mean, you said you guys are digging for gold and silver, copper and zinc. And as your mining operations expand and locate new veins of metals, in your opinion, Max, which of these metals is the most exciting, and why do you find it the most exciting?
Well, I think right now, in terms of what I find the most exciting, is going to be, I guess, a tiebreaker between gold and zinc. I think copper is going to be a little bit farther out in terms of the curve, where I see strong demand and price increases coming. And again, I think zinc at 75 cents today, the long term pricing at $1.60, with these mines shutting down and above ground inventories dwindling. I see that's kind of a place to position the company. In terms of the Flin Flon Greenstone Belt, which you mentioned, where we're focused our exploration efforts on, again, you're absolutely correct. It's a known mining camp that's had 32 mines go into production over the past 90 years. It's 90 years of
Wow.
continuous production, and I think that's just really the tip of the iceberg there. Because as you kind of go deeper within the belt, is really where you see these much larger deposits being formed.
That has to be exciting for you guys. I had no idea that there were that many mines over that many number of years. Goodness gracious, that is very fertile ground.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the team we've established around our chairman, Mike Maslowski, he's a member of the Canadian Mining Hall of Fame. Our technical team has been associated with the discovery of 3 of the 4 largest mines in the camp's history. So I think definitely it's all about the people, because the people are the ones that are going to be able to realize the value and the potential in the project portfolio that the company holds.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up your team. And I was reviewing some of your team earlier, and you've assembled a very impressive team with multiple decades in mining. And tell me about this fellow Carlo. Is it Savelli?
Yes, Carlos Savelli. Yeah, he's a very supportive shareholder of ours. He's chairman of our advisory board. He's a financier that specializes in the resource space. He's seeded 12 companies that went to billion-dollar market caps.
Wow.
Most notably, he seeded Wheaton River, that went on to become Gold Corp, which we're familiar with.
Yep.
Bema Gold, that went on to become B2 Gold. And he's also had success in the oil and gas space, where he sold a private company called PAC LNG in March 2014 for 900 million US, which also had some concessions for future payments on that. So he's had a lot of success in the resource space and has been very supportive of the company, and really great to have him as both a shareholder as well as the chairman of our advisory board.
He sounds like somebody that you would most certainly want on your team.
Yeah, and you have to have very supportive shareholders that are willing to step up and capitalize the company. Last July, in fact, we brought on Resource Capital Funds. It's a $2.5 billion private equity resource centric fund that specializes in the resource space. They're experts in coming in to really construction and development stage resource companies, and then they recently started to invest in exploration stage company, which Kinex is, and they came in. They're our largest shareholder today, and we're proud to say we're one of the first companies to be added to their exploration portfolio. And aside from just bringing on capital, they also have a team that's over 70 individuals that stand by and really assist us in a lot of different facets. So again, you got to have a supportive shareholder base. We're really happy to have Carlo as well as Resource Capital Funds and other shareholders that we're looking to bring on that can add value to the company in more ways than just capital.
Yeah, and Resource Capital, according to the information that I have, they've taken out a 17% stake in Kinex mines, and you're only the second exploration company they've ever invested in, and you should be proud to have that piece of information in your portfolio. I would think that would be something that you could hang your hat on.
No, absolutely. It's definitely a feather in our cap, so to speak, because they are very sophisticated investors. And more than anything, I think it was a big vouch of confidence on our management team and our technical team and the prospectivity of our project portfolio and really how we're looking to grow the company going forward, to have them come on and invest and become an active shareholder in the company. So really, really proud to have them on.
Now, we had talked about gold and silver both having a very nice green day today. How do you see the metals playing out over this year with the serious suppression that we've been experiencing for the past 5 years, and with, as you noted a minute ago, the mining industry as a whole? Mines are shutting down, and the mining sector has been under a lot of stress for the past several years. And how do you see the metals themselves doing over the remainder of this year? I'm not asking for any crystal ball predictions or anything. I'm just in general.
No, I think there's we're in a bullish market for the commodity and metal space overall. I think what's occurred over the past 5 years with this downturn that we've had is really going to set us up for a stronger commodity price environment moving forward. Because when you have a very difficult mining market in a cyclical environment or a cyclical industry, you don't have that capital expenditures needed in capital invested into the exploration, the development, and construction of new mines. So, for example, it takes a copper mine on average 7 years to go into production.
Oh my goodness.
So when you kind of look at those long lead times to bring something into production, and then you look at the fact that you really kind of had a complete, risk off, so to speak, in the metal space over the past 5 years, we've had half a decade of a pause on any exploration work, development work, or construction of new mines to go into production to meet the growing demand because of that pullback. So I think that we're going to have a bright future for the commodity space, and it goes back to the supply demand fundamentals, and really it's a supply side situation more so than anything, because you haven't had that investment again into the exploration development of these projects to meet that demand that's out there.
Right. And the demand is only growing every day. I mean, it's
well, the
crazy.
population is growing every day around the world,
right?
And everyone wants to have all the luxuries that we have in North America here. And I think as you have these growing emerging economies kind of come up the curve here, in the growing middle class, they're going to consume more and more commodities themselves.
Right.
So that, coupled with the growing population, is gonna lead to a lot of demand on commodities where you really haven't had that investment. I mean, you haven't had a downturn that big and that long in the commodity space ever, really. I mean, I talked to our chairman, Mike Maslowski, who's been in the business, 60 plus years, and he said he's never seen it this bad, and he's not the only one that echoes those thoughts.
And I can believe that, and because I don't, it just seems like the continual beatdown it's just been relentless. I mean, and I don't understand it, but want to look at Asia for just a second, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're well aware, I'm sure that the Shanghai Gold Exchange just began their gold fix in yuan on April the 19th. And that, coupled with the large scale solar program that China has instituted, and I believe it was in 2014 is when they started,
Mm-hmm.
and they plan on having 100 gigawatts of solar power by 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you see these two, because one affects silver, the other one affects gold, do you see these having an effect on the mining sector or the resource sector as a whole, or what's your take on those two different projects?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just a matter of time that both of them were going to occur. I think in terms of the gold price fix, I mean, at the end of the day, China is the largest consumer of gold in the world. So for them to kind of take control and have their own price fixing, definitely was surprised it took this long for that to happen. On the solar front, I think that's going to be a growing trend globally as I think all economies and governments kind of look to how to clean up their act, so to speak, on how they create energy. And I think solar is one facet on a multiple facet kind of model in terms of how to create baseload power for your population. So it was both very, very positive. And you look at how that kind of rolls over to the exploration standpoint. Obviously, it's going to be good for demand and higher pricing for that. But then if you look at, overall in terms of what does that do for exploration for across the entire industry, I think, it's something like half of all exploration dollars spent are actually just for gold alone in Canada. So again, I think that's, going to be spread out when you have a move in gold and silver. It's going to go across all commodities, and everyone's going to really stand to benefit in the resource space.
How do you see the gold silver ratio? How are we going to get that back in balance? Because as you are well aware, the ratio to silver, the gold silver ratio coming out of the ground is about 9.5, 10 to 1, but the price currently is around 75 to 1. How do we get that back in line, or does it even matter?
I think it'll come in line over time. I think you've had a huge shock to the overall sector over the past, again, 5 years. So as the markets come back and the real world pricing comes back into effect, the fundamentals underlying that from the supply demand side of things moving forward, because again of this lack of investment to the supply side of the business, it'll begin to normalize. I don't think that's something that happens overnight, but something you'll see over time. And you just want to kind of get in front of that.
Okay. And Kinex Mines, I want to turn back to your company for just a quick minute, and people can get involved with that. And what are the trading symbols, if you don't mind, Max?
Yeah, absolutely. We trade down in the United States under the OTCQX exchange under the ticker CLLXF. Again, that's CLLXF. And then we also trade on the Toronto Venture Exchange in Canada under the ticker CNX. Again, CNX on the Toronto Venture and CLLXF down in the States.
Thank you very much, and
I appreciate you having me.
Well, where does Kinex go from here? And on a side note, Max, how do you define success?
Well, I see in terms of where I see Kinex going from here. We just wrapping up a large exploration drilling campaign up in Manitoba in Canada here, a 7,000 meter campaign, which we've had a couple discoveries on, which we're quite excited about. So we have some follow up drilling there. aside from that, I see a tremendous amount of opportunity to go out and make some acquisitions where the opportunity is right, using our technical team that has so much experience and so much knowledge in these type of deposits here, while the opportunity is still in front of us. In terms of what defines my success is really creating value for my shareholders. I was brought on the CEO 2 years ago with the job to run Calinex, to grow grow Calinex, and I think we've done a great job so far. We've got a lot of work ahead of us to do that, and again, it's return on capital for our investors.
So, making other people wealthy is how you define success.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you make other people wealthy, that'll follow through and be affected to you as well. Our management team is also shareholders of the company, so we're working for all our shareholders, ourselves included.
Yep, I like it, and I just learned that just within the last couple of days. And it's a great way of looking at success. If I'm able to help you be successful and you're more successful, then that should come back to me in kind.
Yeah, one of my mentors growing up always said, the more people you make happy, the more financially successful you'll be in life. So if I can make all my shareholders happy and make them money with growing the company and us being successful, I think it'll all trickle down back to myself eventually, and definitely see that going forward with Calinex. I think we have a very bright future ahead of us, especially after weathering the downturn so well like we've done, and actually created value for our shareholders even despite the overall markets being difficult.
I would agree with all of that. And we've been speaking with Mr. Max Porterfield, who is the CEO of Calinex Mines. Max, if you would, just remind everybody how they can find all your work and find out a little bit more about Calinex.
Yeah, no problem. You can actually go on the internet and visit us at calinex.ca. That's CALLINEX.ca. And on there, you can also find our contact information, and feel free to give us a call anytime. I'm always excited to talk to new and existing shareholders about the company and what we're up to.
Are you on Twitter as well? Can people follow you there?
I don't tweet, but we do tweet as a company our news release, so I don't personally tweet. So you can find us on Twitter, and that's all, again, available on our website.
Okay. And we certainly appreciate all your time this afternoon, and I look forward to speaking with you again in the not-too-distant future.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me and letting us share our story with your listeners, and look forward to speaking again sometime shortly.
All right. Thank you, Max.
Thank you.